right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Marking 1 year since the Hamas terror attack on Israel. The fighting still rages on. Tonight, the St. Louis Jewish community reflects on a year at war.
This has been a very difficult year.
Over the last few days, it has certainly been very warm and much above average of our average high of 74 degrees. But things changed a little bit today, and they'll change a lot tomorrow. How cool it gets and how long we can hold on to that fall feel.
Good morning. A 16-year-old boy is in the hospital recovering as police search for the gunman who shot him. I'm Mike Bush. The gunfire broke out Saturday night just steps away from the Belleville skateboard park. 5 on Your Side's Annie Krall went to the neighborhood and learned what led to the violence.
On Saturday night around 6:50, Belleville police got a call that someone had been shot in the 900 block of North 2nd Street. When Belleville police officers arrived on Saturday, they found a 16-year-old boy lying in the road right near the curb. He'd been shot, they say, multiple times. Officers immediately started first aid on the victim when paramedics then took him to a nearby St. Louis hospital for emergency treatment. 5 on Your Side confirmed with the boy's stepmother, who wanted to stay anonymous due to safety, that the teen is recovering and could use all the prayers he can get. Belleville police posting on Facebook Sunday afternoon saying the initial aggravated battery investigation found that the victim was involved in a, quote, altercation over narcotics with 2 other male suspects just before the shooting occurred. It happened near the quiet Belleville skateboard park on North 2nd Street. Witnesses at the scene told police the suspects appeared to be 2 young men, possibly in their teens. They were last seen on Saturday night at about 7 o'clock fleeing the area toward West H Street. One ran down the road, the other hopped on a bike. Neighbors we spoke to didn't want to go on camera, but said the area has seen a number of drug-related incidents recently, making them worried about what could still happen. The Illinois State Police Crime Scene Unit is assisting Belleville detectives to learn more about Saturday's shooting. Reporting in Belleville, Annie Krall, 5 on Your Side.
Late Sunday night, friends of the wounded teen were planning a vigil at the state park. Investigators encourage anyone with information regarding yesterday's shooting to call Belleville police at 618-234-1212 or Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS. A live look now at downtown St. Louis after a warm October weekend. And a quick fall cool down may be in our future. Weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank joins us now with the forecast heading into your work week.
Yeah, we'd like to say we'd cool off, but at this point, it's already cooling off. And we're already in the midst of it here as we're past midnight, but it's pretty nice. You know, it's starting to feel a little more like fall, and you can open up the windows and give your AC a break. If you've seen it this last few afternoons, it's warmed up pretty nicely. As far as clouds in the sky, we don't have any, and therefore we lose that insulation as we head in the overnight hours that typically keeps some of the heat of the day, and also a cold front move through. We'll also, as that cold front continues to push to the south, we'll still watch this now Category 1 storm, and it's going to continue to work its way towards strengthening overnight as we continue. But like I said, temperatures are much cooler. We're already down to 62 in the city and in the 50s outside of the city. Dry air and cool air. The main weather impact this week is we have some chilly starts to the day, but guess what? It's going to be dry and warmer again, and that's the main story for us here looking ahead. We'll talk about how warm it gets this afternoon, and as we look ahead, how cool we're going to get for a couple of days if we see any rain in sight.
All right, Gary, thanks. Well, today marks 1 year since Hamas launched a deadly terror attack on Israel, sparking a war on many fronts for the Jewish state. Close to 1,200 people died in Israel that day, while more than 200 were taken hostage. Tonight, more death on the eve of the anniversary. Israeli police say a gunman opened fire at a bus station in Beersheba, killing 1 woman and injuring 10 others. In Gaza, hospital officials say an Israeli strike on a mosque and a school killed at least 25 people. The Israel military says a Hamas command center was in the mosque, while CNN reports they could only find displaced Palestinians staying there. The upcoming anniversary sparked protests around the world today, from Tel Aviv and Jerusalem to Chicago and Washington, D.C. Locals came out condemning the war and calling for a ceasefire. Here in the St. Louis area, the Jewish community is preparing for a commemoration event tomorrow to honor the lives lost and lift up those being held hostage. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski talked with those who are still trying to find light in the darkness.
October 7th, 2023, a Hamas terrorist attack on Israel left 1,200 dead and more than 250 held hostage.
I still remember where I was when I heard the news, It was on the most joyous day on the Jewish calendar. You know, it doesn't stop.
That attack was the beginning of a war that's been going on for a year now, claiming the lives of thousands of people.
Everyone knows someone who has lost. And here in St. Louis, there's many, many people who have lost family.
And while they honor the lives of the ones they've lost, Karen Scher with the Jewish Federation of St. Louis says it's important to continue to remember those who are still in captivity.
They are always in our hearts and our minds, and that we will continue to fight for their release. And we won't forget their memory.
Even though the war is going on thousands of miles away, in the U.S., Jews are facing an increase in anti-Semitism. The Anti-Defamation League reports there have been about 10,000 anti-Semitic incidents in the past year. Rabbi Chaim Landa emphasizes the importance of stomping out hate.
There's fighting hate, which we have to do, calling out hate. And then there's actively, proactively, and intentionally doing good, spreading positivity. And I think if there ever was a time that our world needed that, it is now.
Amidst the trauma, there has also been unity.
They're finding comfort in community, whether it's through their synagogue or whether it's through just gathering at their home or coming to an event or a program. Just being heard is really, really important to know that we need to create spaces for people to share how they're feeling, share their pain, share their struggles.
Rabbi Landa says finding hope and joy in this time is essential.
We can be that light, and we should be that light.
Reporting in St. Louis, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
The St. Louis area commemoration event starts at 7 p.m. tomorrow. For more information, you'll need to pre-register through the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. Developing tonight, we're learning a man is in the hospital after a carjacking in Soulard. This happened early Sunday morning near 7th Street and Lafayette, right by Soulard Park. The man told police 2 men approached him as he was standing outside his car. They forced the victim's girlfriend out of the car and then drove off. Police later found the car abandoned near 2nd and Arsenal. Right now, a bicyclist is fighting for his life after being hit by 2 cars. This happened on Gravois in Afton Saturday night. Police said the man was hit while riding a motorized bike. Both of the drivers stayed on scene. The victim is in the hospital now with life-threatening injuries. We'll bring you updates on air and online as soon as we learn more. Well, former Cardinals players came together to honor Hall of Fame manager Whitey Herzog. Herzog passed away back in April at the age of 92, and today, Ozzie Smith assembled a special tribute for his former skipper at the Ritz-Carlton. Smith brought some of his past teammates, including pitcher John Tudor and outfielder Willie McGee, and all of them shared their love for Whitey Herzog.
Whitey was great. He gave you the chance. You know, if you took advantage of your chances with Whitey, then you were in good shape, you know, and he was just fun to be around.
All of the event's proceeds will go towards the Gateway Reach program. That's a nonprofit that makes golf more accessible to kids and veterans. And Frank Cusimano will have more from today's memorial later on Sports Plus. From patient
The recovery was nothing like I've ever experienced.
to protege,
Just like I was called to become a doctor and change lives.
the student learning from the doctor who changed her life and inspiring others along the way.
Now, a hurricane, Milton, is what we're tracking now in the Gulf. Its updated strength and category and what we can expect on our impacts from Milton, not only in the United States, but locally.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
At a local hospital, the line between doctor and patient is being redrawn. As we learn in tonight's Making a Difference report, one young woman's medical odyssey is transforming patient care in ways that textbooks never could. At St. Louis Children's Hospital, young patients face some of life's biggest challenges. But for one former patient, those challenges became a calling.
Bite down all the way.
Today, as Dr. Kamlesh Patel meets with his 18-year-old patient, Jack Lofton,
And on this side,
there's an extra set of eyes in the room. Eyes that have seen this all before.
yeah, it's pretty soft.
Riley Cruz knows exactly what Jack is going through. Born 2 months early in 2005, Riley's medical journey began before she even left the NICU. She was born with a condition called hemifacial microsomia.
Hemifacial microsomia can, in most cases, involve the jaw, meaning one side of the jaw is a little bit smaller, and you can have variations of that between just a bit smaller versus segments that are missing.
And for Riley, it was just the beginning. A golf ball-sized brain tumor and a weak heart led to more than 20 surgeries before she was 5 months old.
And you can see when we just do the lower jaw.
Fast forward to 2019 when 17-year-old Riley met Dr. Patel.
I'm sure all the scar tissue is hard to work around.
Yeah.
His innovative approach for her hemifacial microsomia would change her life.
Everyone doesn't get the same operation. You know, you have to tailor it based on everyone's anatomy. And the beauty of now is that we can actually create patient-specific implants, patient-specific, jaw replacement implants as well.
In a 14-hour operation, Dr. Patel and his team implanted a full titanium jaw, a first for Children's Hospital, and the road to recovery wasn't easy.
It was hard. It was a hard, probably 6 months after. The recovery was nothing like I've ever experienced.
But Riley powered through.
When was the last time you had any drainage from that?
Now she's in college, pre-med, shadowing the very doctor who changed her life.
Some people you can do amoxicillin and
I
that helps.
truly just feel like I was called to become a doctor and change lives like mine has been changed.
How was your scars healing?
Now as Jack prepares for his surgery,
It was tender, sore, they're tight.
Riley's presence is a beacon of hope.
Look at her, she's great, she's happy, she, is glad she did this, so we were just kind of put at peace when we met her.
After I could eat, I started checking things off.
Just having someone that's my age, someone that knows what I've done, and someone that can put it in words that I understand better, it definitely helps me just process information a little bit better.
In a world where scars often tell stories of pain, Riley's tell a different tale, one of resilience and hope.
If you're going through a surgery or anything, that you will always come out on the other end and be able to inspire others, and that God has made them this way for a reason and that they should embrace it. The physical therapist told me to massage them.
One young lady showing that the best medicine doesn't come from a bottle, but from a friend who's walked the same path. And just to show you how resilient Riley is, she ran cross-country for her school just 3 months after her major surgery. A reminder, if you know an inspiring person or someone making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com. Just over a week after Hurricane Helene devastated parts of the southeast, another hurricane is set to hit the region this week. Hurricane Milton is churning in the Gulf of Mexico. Forecasters predict it will make landfall on Wednesday on Florida's west coast as a Category 3 storm, prompting residents across the state to start preparing for that storm, many gathering supplies like groceries and gas, and building sandbags again, with Helene's destruction still fresh in their minds.
One back-to-back with Helene, and because it's going to come right over top of us, it's a little scary.
Oh, what happened up in North Carolina, in Georgia, and all the water up there, I think people are really scared right now.
Milton is almost 300 miles off the coast right now, but as we mentioned, it's expected to become a Category 3 hurricane when it hits. Meteorologist Gary Frank joins us now with the weather impact forecast, and he'll be tracking that hurricane all week.
Yeah, and it looks
Scary
like it's going to arrive
Gary.
late Wednesday, which we'll show you an update. They're updating them every 3 hours now as it starts to get closer. That's typically what they do. So the National Hurricane Center is going to be looking at into the overnight hours. Let's talk about what goes on the rest of today before we get to that, because it has been quiet in our area. And the last time we talked about Helene, we had remnants and more rain. We're not going to deal with it in the same fashion. 40s right here. You'll see those temperatures here, low 60s in the city, but still, we've got temps in the 50s now and low 50s in some cases here at times. So we're starting to feel that right now, and even over the next few hours, these numbers are going to go down even more. 40s in the city. We're only going to drop another 13 degrees, but typically the morning lows are sometime around 6:45 or something like that, so it's going to be chilly, and so expect that. Expect to layer up when you're up, and I think for tomorrow afternoon, last few times that it's been cool in the morning, it's warmed up quickly. It's going to take a few more hours, so I really think that layer probably isn't out fully until maybe midday or early afternoon. So just keep in mind, we're headed for the low 70s tomorrow afternoon. And we'll see a steady diet of that for the first couple of days this week. Let's talk about updated look at Milton. It is moving east at 7 miles an hour. It's currently 90 miles an hour. It's a Category 1 storm, and it's sitting in a very rapid area for development. There's not much in the way of think about sticking a fork in a blender and how that would be making it tougher. There's nothing in the way. There's no friction in the way of this thing. The wind shear, there's not much. So it's going to continue to gain strength, and you're going to start to see that structure here a little bit more. As it gets into landfall, Category 4, maybe 3 here, and it's going to be updated. There's no doubt about that. They're going to keep a close eye on that. This does not point toward a path toward our area whatsoever. It's not like the last one. And one of the reasons you'll see, and I want to point this out because you'll see what this looks like here as it continues to spin. This is where it really starts to pick up the structure, the eye. We're going to see more of that here as it works into this water that's in the 80s still. And I think it's sometime Wednesday night that this is going to somewhere affect between Tampa and Fort Myers. We'll see exactly what that looks like. Anthony will have the latest in just a matter of hours because, like I said, they update it every 3 hours. The last one was at 11 o'clock local time, so you'll see that at about 2 o'clock. So have a fresh look at that at 4. The reason we see this high settle in, and over the next few days, it's kind of what's keeping all those storms at bay, plus that cold front that just moved through and essentially pushes that out of the way. And as a result, we're not going to see much of a change here for the next few days. We'll get to 72 tomorrow, 74 on Tuesday, but once we get those couple cool mornings out of the way, it'll start to warm back up again. So we don't see much of a change here. I think maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week we'll be talking about some actual fall weather, but not yet. No way.
Lots of sunshine.
Lots of sunshine. It's nice here.
All right, Gary, thanks. Questions surrounding the FBI's latest crime data and whether it's giving the full picture about safety in our cities. Tonight, our Verify team is crunching the numbers. Tonight, our Verify team is looking into claims about violent crime that are being made on the presidential campaign trail. The FBI releases statistics every year. Brandon Lewis looks into the accuracy of that data.
We're getting a lot of questions about the FBI's annual crime data. A viral post claims it shows violent crime is down since 2020, but a reply with nearly 1 million views says that's misleading because it excludes more than a third of police departments, including some of the nation's largest cities. Donald Trump shared a similar claim last month. Several Verify viewers reached out to ask if most large cities are really excluded. So let's verify. Our sources are the FBI, the Brennan Center for Justice, and Jeff Asher, a crime data analyst and co-founder of the data analytics firm AH Datalytics. FBI data is based on information voluntarily reported by federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. And Asher tells Verify that historically, a large majority of departments participate. So, where do the claims about the data excluding big cities come from? In 2021, the FBI started using a new reporting system, and many departments weren't ready. Some cities, like New York and Los Angeles, didn't report that year, and others, like Chicago, reported only partial data. The issue only lasted 1 year, and last year, police departments that cover more than 94% of Americans reported data, including every city with more than 1 million people.
For the most part, with the exception of 2021 when they were undergoing the transition, the FBI's data is the closest we have to an accurate, precise count of the number of reported crimes each year.
So, no, the FBI's recently released 2023 crime data does not exclude many large cities. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
What would you like us to verify? Send an email to verify@ksdk.com. Walking Tall, the group trying to put an end to bullying one step at a time. The nonprofit Everybody for Kindness hosted a fundraiser walk today. The event at Queenie Park raised money to help kids who have been bullied. The group brought in food trucks, a boutique, and set up arts and crafts stations. Proceeds will go towards Kids Smart and the Megan Meyer Foundation. Stay right there. Another 30 minutes of news weather is followed by Sports Plus and the Record, so stay with us. We're staying up late.
This is 5 on your side at 10. Focused on you.
This weekend, the community came out for the funeral of fallen St. Louis police officer David Lee. He was killed last month while responding to a crash on I-70. 5 on your side's Andy Krall shows us how family, friends, and colleagues are remembering him.
You know I see God's face.
David Lee, the St. Louis police officer who died in the line of duty last month, laid to rest Saturday. He was hit by a car and killed on September 22nd while placing flares at the scene of a crash on Interstate 70.
Lord God, we suffered a great loss. Not that you don't know, but we just want to acknowledge the fact that we suffered somebody. Someone that was full of love and compassion.
Of the thousands of traffic violators he stopped over the years, not one of them called to say that David was rude or inconsiderate during his interactions with them. That really says something about David's character as a police officer.
Before his 18 years on the force, he was protecting his little sister, Danielle Lee, during her first day of kindergarten.
When it was time to go home, I got lost in the midst of the DSEG program. Hundreds of little kids running around trying to find a bus that all looked the same. At that very moment, I was gonna freak out and be extra, but I heard a voice. Mama was gonna get me if I lost you, and she definitely was. She definitely was gonna get him. But he was there, always looking out for me.
A city and state now looking out for Lee's family with his wife and 2 children by showing up every day since his death.
Don't just show up for the good times, but show up for the people in their darkest times. David did that for me my entire life. And to see the outpouring of love and support these last couple weeks shows me he did the same for you all. And that right there makes me the proudest little sister ever.
These were some of the final words Danielle had for the brother she lost too soon.
David, just like the first day of big school, you prepared me well. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna love you. Good job, big brother. Thank you.
Annie Krall, 5 on your side.
Officer Lee was 44 years old. Backstoppers is helping his family. The driver charged in Lee's death remains behind bars. Ramon Chavez Rodriguez is not in the country legally and is on an immigration hold. He's due back in court later this month. Monday marks 8 years since St. Louis County Police Officer Blake Snyder was killed in the line of duty. The 33-year-old was shot during a disturbance call in South County. St. Louis County has since named a park and a new police precinct in Officer Snyder's honor. Trenton Forster was sentenced to life in prison for his murder. Athletes and gamers were under one dome this weekend as part of an effort to keep them safe. A youth flag football event was held on the turf at the Dome at America Center. And just down the hall, gamers were gathering for the e-gaming tournament Battle for the Lou. The event was put together by 100 Black Men, the BGG Foundation, and Mayor Tashara Jones's office. Organizers hope events like this will keep kids off the streets and help them grow up with a safe outlet.
It's a village to make sure that we're all doing this collectively. So we mentor our young women, we mentor our young men to make sure that they're growing up in a safe environment and that they have the opportunities that maybe we didn't have coming up and that they have the opportunity to excel and be successful.
The winners of the flag football game each got special champion rings. UMSL gave scholarships to the winners of today's e-gaming tournament. Well, Florida is bracing for another hurricane hit as President Biden sends in the troops to help in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene.
We're watching this cold front that we finally feel the impacts from as we've watched it go through our area over the last 12 hours. How cold it gets the rest of the morning and how long we can hold on to this fall weather.
Just hours from now, mandatory evacuations are expected to get underway in western Florida as Hurricane Milton churns in the Gulf of Mexico. The storm expected to make landfall Wednesday as a Category 3 or 4. The same area is still recovering from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Officials say their biggest concern is getting debris off the roads and neighborhoods where that storm took a toll. This latest tropical threat comes just 10 days after Hurricane Helene devastated the southeast. And tonight, the Biden administration is sending more resources to the region as the head of FEMA is clapping back at claims about the lack of a federal response. Here's NBC's Kathy Park.
Tonight, more than a week after Helene's devastating blow, President Biden calling up 500 more active duty troops to help with the cleanup in the southeast and to deliver critical aid. And North Carolina Republican Senator Tom Tillis even pushing back against false conspiracy theories that FEMA is diverting emergency funds to immigrants.
We could have a discussion about the failure of this administration's border policies, but right now, not yet is it affecting the flow of resources to Western North Carolina.
While in East Tennessee, relief supplies are piling up at the legendary Bristol Motor Speedway as thousands grapple with the ongoing crisis. Sister Lorraine traveled in from Kentucky to pass out these filters, turning even the dirtiest floodwater into clear and safe drinking water.
Tastes like good old spring water right there.
In this corner of the country, church services are becoming a sacred source of comfort.
And how important is faith during a time of crisis like this?
The most important thing.
At St. Michael the Archangel in Irwin, where some of the parishioners are among the dead, healing comes in the form of community. Nearby River Baptist was flooded in the storm, battered by a building swept away by the raging waters. Now, the sound of power washers and shovels fill the 100-year-old sanctuary.
If God wanted this church down the river, I think it would have went. I think it's still standing for a reason.
And meteorologist Gary Frank rejoins us now with that weather impact forecast.
Yeah, it's starting to cool off a little bit. You can really notice that now. This is the kind of morning where we're going to have to dress differently going outside here after 1 o'clock than we did when we came in, because it did get to 83 today, yesterday, whatever it is. You get the drift. The temperatures right now in the mid-50s, low 60s locally. You're starting to see those temperatures fall even in O'Fallon. There are going to be a lot of 40s when you see Anthony in a couple of hours. I'll tell you what, low 40s still expected. This is at 7 o'clock. In fact, actually, all my graphics are screwed up to some degree because it's after 1 o'clock. It's going to be this cold Tuesday morning, but it's going to be about this cold Monday morning. So this says Monday, but then it says Tuesday up there. Just understand, it's also going to be chilly in the next few hours. That's about the same thing, because we're going to start out at about 51 at 7 o'clock. In the city, outside of the city, it's chilly. But unlike the last couple of days, in the upper 60s, right around 70 degrees, we don't warm up all that much. That's where we should be this time of the year. We just haven't seen it at all. Now, as we talk more about how Milton will impact us, and this is something that, like I said, now that it is close, they're sending the hurricane hunters, they're flying, they're doing recon data as this goes into the Gulf and nears the United States. Now, over the next couple of days, see, this is actually accurate, and this gets updated every 3 hours now as it is an imminent threat. So it does pause at about a Category 4 on Wednesday morning. There's the possibility it could go higher. I would not focus so much on the number, but I would focus on the fact that this thing's going to pump a ton of rain and storm surge somewhere throughout the entire state of Florida. So it's going to really put some stress for a lot. It's not headed toward us, but what this is going to do is slow down over the next couple of days. And as it does that, it's just interacting with significant warm water and not much wind direction change above the surface, which really adds to these hurricanes and how they can develop. You'll see where this could potentially make landfall somewhere between there. I've kind of paused it. But the reality is the entire state of Florida is going to get a lot of rain between now and Thursday. And you'll see that just even a spot like Tampa, which isn't even in this particular model's bullseye of rain, is still going to get close to 7 inches of rain. Even in Miami, Jacksonville, still get a lot of rain. So very significant. Now, over the next few days, we'll watch our weather still stay the same, and I don't think that means that we're going to see too much in the way of rainfall, simply because this high settles in. We talk about that often, sinking air, dry air, and warm air, and that's going to be with us the next few days. So these numbers are right, because I actually already added Anthony's morning forecast graphic, so that's where we're operating now. Low 70s, 40s in the morning, but we're back in the 80s pretty quick, and then mid-80s by the weekend.
It's time for On the Move. I'm Paul Cook, your traffic guy from Today in St. Louis. It's a little road that runs parallel to 6440 in West County, and it goes by 2 high schools, 2 colleges, and 3 hospitals. Conway Road is important, but drivers in Chesterfield who use it have been feeling the pain with these big utility work plates on that stretch of road from Conway Meadows Road east to near 141. Well, here's an update on Conway Road. MoDOT crews closed it this past weekend at I-270 to remove a portion of the interstate bridge over Conway. That's a big improvement, but not related to the big metal plate issues that the county is working on at Conway and 141. The detour around this isn't perfect, but taking the outer 40 road to Clarkson Olive is something to try. And the best policy for obstructions like this is to slow down. Be careful, stay safe out there. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
Off to the races. The moves by both presidential campaigns with less than a month until Election Day. We're now 30 days away from Election Day, and the race for the White House is picking up speed. Former President Donald Trump spent the weekend campaigning in key swing states, and today he was in Wisconsin. Yesterday he returned to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he dodged an assassin's bullet just 3 months ago. And after being criticized for not doing enough interviews, Vice President Kamala Harris is hitting the media circuit. This week she'll sit down with 60 Minutes, The View, Howard Stern, and Stephen Colbert. Today the Vice President was on the Call Her Daddy podcast, where she blasted Mr. Trump over abortion rights and for casting himself as a protector of women.
This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So, yeah, there you go.
During his campaign stop in Wisconsin today, the former President Trump continued his personal insults of the Vice President.
And she's worse. And she's worse than Biden, in my opinion. First of all, I think Biden is actually far more intelligent, if you can believe that. Can you believe? I think he's more intelligent than she is.
Some of his GOP allies are urging him to stick to the issues, and Trump critic, the former Republican governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, said Trump's divisive rhetoric is something we can do without. Besides the presidential race, Missouri voters will cast their ballot on multiple statewide races and issues, and that includes electing a new state treasurer. Democrat Mark Osmak is challenging incumbent Vivek Malik, a Republican appointed by Governor Parson in 2022. Tonight, Osmak goes on the record with Mark Maxwell.
Incumbent Mr. Malik has talked a lot about stopping a woke investment agenda. How do you understand that idea?
I think that is something to distract voters from what really does matter. And so, unfortunately, I don't think our state has headed in the right direction for the past 20 years of one-party rule. So typically, unfortunately, the other side, the Republican Party is focused on terms like CRT, DEI, wokeism, to distract people from what are the real challenges of Missouri are. Namely, in this sense, schools that are struggling, a lot of them are going to 4 out of 5 days a week in rural areas. Teachers' pay is one among the lowest in the nation. When it comes to investing, because of how I was raised, and that was in a poor family that moved around a lot, my principle and my plan for investing the state's funding and state's money, which is the people's money, is in a conservative way and is something that is reliable and steadfast and as risk-averse as possible.
Oh, okay, so we're getting to some policy here. So some conservative investments, meaning just what's off the table?
So off the table, I'm making this up, but Bitcoin, anything that's a flash in the pan,
high volatile, yeah.
Exactly. That is something that I would not want to do. But when Mr. Malik talks about not investing in wokeism, that is just meant to distract people from the current issues that the state has.
Yes and no. There are some state treasurers in this country that do try to invest with a conscience. At what point would your moral compass come into play?
Moral compass always comes into play, and the way that for me, if I cannot explain it to my daughters, I have two, then I would not do it. And so I apply that to every single part of my life. So
when you say that, I just want to make sure I'm being specific. If you couldn't explain the investment decision to your daughters,
or to if company X or bank Y is objectionable, if I cannot explain that to my daughters, and that is something that I would not do.
Can you give us an idea of something that you would find objectionable?
Sure. I think the most obvious ones are anything. There's a federal policy that it's called never contract with the enemy, and so those are prohibiting deals with Russia, with Iran, with any other adversary of the United States. So I think those would be the obvious choices. But other ones would be bad actors, either in Missouri or nationally, in terms of investment. So that are been very detrimental either to the environment or to people writ large.
Fossil fuels?
Fossil fuels, well, yes, it depends, but fossil fuels would be one that would require a closer look, because the nation is transitioning, and the market, the invisible hand, is the one that's deciding, hey, this is something that we want to find another way to keep our energy going.
Private prisons?
No, I would not invest in private prisons.
Weapons manufacturers?
No, I would not invest in weapons manufacturers.
Boeing is a big jobs hub here in St. Louis.
Boeing, when I think weapons, I think of typically guns, that type of thing, but I understand that Boeing's platform is much wider than just fighter planes. It is commercial as well.
Missouri voters will also get to make decisions on different amendments. Proposition A will ask voters if they want to raise the minimum wage and implement guaranteed paid sick leave. The campaign manager for Prop A sat down with Mark and described what this would mean for the state's economy.
That really what drives economic growth in the state are workers. When workers are fairly compensated, we turn around and we spend that money right back in our economy. You know, we get the car repair that maybe we've been delaying, or maybe we can afford an extra meal out. So that's really what drives a consumer-driven economy, is having consumers that are able to spend. So Proposition A would inject over $609 million right back into workers' paychecks, who will turn around and spend that in our economy, driving economic growth.
You can catch the entire conversation tonight on The Record. That's coming up in about 40 minutes. That's right after Sports Plus, and we'll be right back. The Blues will drop the puck on a new season Tuesday afternoon. They'll be in Seattle to face off against the Kraken at 3:30 St. Louis time. And since it's an early game, a couple of so-called doctors are offering an excuse note for those who bleed blue. Dr. Louie and Dr. Barclay say symptoms of blues fever include wearing all blues gear, spontaneously breaking into Let's Go Blues, and singing the goal song. They end the note saying they will only answer questions from your boss or principal if they have treats. And Gary has one final check of the weather impact forecast at 1:09 in the morning.
Yeah, it's if you're up, we salute you, because we're barely up, but it's getting cool outside. I probably won't. I've opened the windows at my house already, so it should be good sleeping weather for the couple hours I'm going to get here. But we're going to be warming up later on in the week, and you'll turn your AC back on. Until then, maybe wearing those layers for a little bit longer than we have the last few days.
All right, Gary, thanks. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. That's what we're calling this.
Sure.
10.
Yeah. Sure.
Nowhere near 10.
Not even close.
Sports Plus with Frank Cusimano is next. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis in just a few hours.